Hello and welcome to Around the Hoop, the Westwood Basketball Show. I'm your host, Mike Gay, and again, I'll be joined by Coach Clifford and Coach St. Martin in the AFC Championship edition of Around the Hoop. Welcome, coaches.
Good to see you, Mike.
Good to be here.
So this is the jacket over. So Coach Clifford was saying that we don't do this until the Super Bowl. This is the AFC Championship outfit. So
we're always adding new twists around the hoop.
You know what?
I love
It's we're dynamic. So we'll get to picks a little bit later in the show, which I do want to get your thoughts on that game.
Throw some numbers at you.
So it's been a couple weeks. My bad last week. I was work got in the way.
Worst.
What are you going to do? So it's been a couple of weeks since you played Hopkinton. Both teams with a great night.
Yep.
Why don't we start with you, Coach Clifford? Walk us through the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we're 3-1, I think, since the last time we were here. We're 7-1 overall. We went out to Hopkinton 2 Fridays ago. Young team over there, but they always come to play, and they certainly did. We kind of had like a 6 to 8 point lead. It never really felt good. They played really good defense and got us kind of out of our rhythm offensively, but the girls were able to pull together and make a really nice run to start the fourth quarter and put the game away. So that was a good win for us. Then we had 2 home games against Bellingham and Norton the following week. Both we kind of won handily. Both those programs are struggling a little bit. They're really well coached. Their kids work really hard. We just had, a talent advantage and a depth advantage, and we played pretty well. So gave the girls a lot of credit. Sometimes when you're in kind of on the good side of a blowout win, it's easy to take your foot off the gas, and in ways you have to, as sort of gamesmanship and to show respect for your opponent. But in other ways you can't, because you're just going to develop bad habits. So I give them a lot of credit for keeping that balance and winning the right way, but also making sure that we got better on those nights. Even though we weren't challenged as much as some of our other games. So we did really well with that. And then this Tuesday, we were over at Norwood. We were both undefeated in the league coming in. It was a really big matchup. We ended up losing in overtime. We got off to a really good start. Credit to Norwood. They never gave up, never went away. We played pretty well throughout, but Norwood just made more plays at the end. We're able to cash in on some of our mistakes in the closing minutes to force overtime, and then they just carried that momentum all the way through. So definitely a disappointing loss. It was heartbreaking just the way it went down, but hopefully we'll be better for it in the long run. But yeah, overall things are still going pretty well. Like I said, it was a really tough loss, but we're sitting at 7-1, so things could be a lot worse for sure.
The sun did come up the following day.
It did.
So that's good.
It was a great atmosphere too.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic
tournament
atmosphere.
feel for sure. It was
Yeah.
great for the
So
girls.
it was the second day where you've had both of you played in the same gym. This is the first one on the road, so a home type game. We'll talk about that in a little bit on your side, but talk about that atmosphere, talk about the playoff atmosphere and how, even in a tough loss, again, you are going to grow from it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Norwood, so it was cool for me to be back there. I know the town is just really loyal, and especially to their sports team, so I wasn't surprised at all. When you only have to travel a mile and a half, Westwood traveled pretty well. So it was great. We had support from some of our students. Obviously, a lot of our families were there, the players and coaches alike. So it was great. The gym was packed, and it was loud. Norwood came back, and it was, our girls are standing at the free throw line, and the whole place is going crazy trying to make you miss, and it's just a really good experience for them. We've struggled to shoot free throws all season, so I'm not blaming the crowd for that. I think we're still working on that, but it's just a great experience for the kids, and hopefully next time we're in a similar situation, whether it's a close game down to the wire or a hostile atmosphere, that we'll be a little more ready for it.
What did Norwood do, quite frankly, that no other team has done this year? Was it just a talent and a depth that they were able to match, or did they do something different with the press, or man, or what do they throw at you?
Yeah, they definitely turned up their defensive intensity in the second half, which I think disrupted our offense a little bit. I think the game came down to some rebounds that we missed late in the game. I think they just kind of wanted the ball more in a couple possessions that were pretty critical. They did throw their press at us, which I think overall we were okay with, but they did definitely caught us off guard, and we had a couple costly turnovers against that too. So it was a little bit of everything, but it's credit to them. Like, they made the plays, we didn't. They deserved to win that game, but hopefully we'll be ready for them next time.
Yeah, and you'll see them later in the season where they'll both come to Westwood.
Yep.
Right.
You'll have the early game, and then you'll have the late game in that.
Right.
So that should be a great atmosphere. So Coach St. Martin, same thing. Walk us through the last few games.
Hopkinton game was great. They're the second place team in the league. In the large side, and they were very competitive, and they always are. They play extremely hard. They're always in the mix to be one of the best teams in the league, if not win the league. So it was a challenge for us, and we were able to make enough plays down the stretch to finish that game on a win. Then we went to Bellingham, and Bellingham was undefeated in the league. They've been playing fantastic, and it was a great game. Our guys, again, were able to execute towards the end to get a W. And then the final one before the Norwood game was against Norton at Norton, who is the reigning TVL champs. So, and they had the MVP of the league back, so they're a very good team. We were able to get a win there, and then went into Norwood after the girls' game and played against them, and they were a very talented team as well. They're in the mix in second place, third place, I think, in the lodge standings now, and gave us a great game, and we were again able to find a way to win that game. So, all in all, and the win column was very successful. We just need to translate how well we're doing in practice to games, and that can be sometimes the most challenging part for a team and for players. That to me is the most challenging piece, is when you look at games differently than practice, and it shouldn't be that way. It should be an extension of what you're doing.
As a coach, how do you fix that?
It's a great question. A lot of it is a ton of communication on our part, and strategies and exercises we do revolving around like mindfulness and some like visualization things, and just constantly reminding of that. And then the other piece of it is trying to empower them to be able to do it for themselves. And it's tough, and to the kids' credits, they're working extremely hard at it. It's not like they're not trying to do those things. It's a difficult thing, and also we're a young team, and we're also a young winning team. Majority of the guys that are on this team have not experienced winning at the varsity level, and how do you teach that? Well, you have to go through it. It's not something that you can just do. It's something that you have to, it's do in the sense of, here's a drill, and this is going to make you a better player in a game. It's a mental aspect of it, and that's a challenge, and it's challenging across the board for every coach that I speak with, and when we talk about it, but also other coaches that we speak with who are highly successful go through the same thing. And you just need the game reps, and what Coach said was so key was, the next time we're in this type of a situation, now we know what it's like, we have to be able to do things. And so that's what you're hoping is all year long you're climbing the mountain, and then when you get to the top of it, you can now hit your peak. You don't want to peak now, so it's all about growing and experiencing growth, and that's why we try to schedule non-league games that are so challenging as well, and your league is challenging. You're trying to get all that into the season. So that's the best way to do it, is you have to play against teams that are going to put you in those spots, and then you have to translate it into the game.
Yeah, and you experienced that in the Hingham game, same thing. You experienced
Correct.
what you went through against Norwood, and it makes you stronger.
Absolutely.
So,
It can definitely be a catalyst for your growth if it's done the right way, if it's taken the right way. So.
Oh, that's great. So we'll start with you, Coach.
Sure.
Road ahead. Talk about tonight's game and then next week.
So tonight we're going into Holliston. Again, another team that's a challenge. They beat Norwood in Norwood's gym too. They've lost some games, but they're very competitive and have one of the better players in the league. So we're going to have to make sure we execute tonight and do really well. And then next week it's a little tricky because we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're playing against Dover Sherburne, who is now tied for the league in the small side. Been a fantastic season they're having. And then we have Bridgewater Raynham, the Bridgewater Raynham. And then Friday we have Ashland. So it's a real challenging situation. And then you throw in this wintry weather that could throw a curveball at everything with games and practices and everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Absolutely. Coach, what are you expecting? Again, similar schedule?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of usually the reverse, home and away. We do have that doubleheader on Wednesday, which will be fun. So we're the same thing. We host Holliston tonight. Holliston, I've been billing them as the best 2-8 team in the country. They are way more talented than their record. They've lost a couple close games. They remind me a little bit of us last year, where our record was not indicative of the type of season we were having. One of their strengths is rebounding, which was one of the things that hurt us against Norwood. So I'm looking forward to that challenge and seeing how the girls respond to that. But tonight will be tough. Then we go to Dover Sherburne on Monday. We host Lincoln Sudbury, which is again dual county league. Same thing. Their strength of schedule is really strong. Their record's not great, but we know they're going to give us a really good test. And then we go to Ashland next Friday, who's playing a lot better than they did the first time we saw them. So, you know, on our, it's true for both of us, but every night there's a challenge. I mean, there's no, you know, you can't take your foot off the gas. We need to be ready for everybody. So we're looking forward to it, but it's going to be definitely a grind, especially with that 3-game week next week.
And then on top of that, when you are one of the top teams, you're getting everybody's best now. So that's a different mentality as well. When you go in and the expectations are lower, both of us are coming off seasons where we didn't do as well in the win column. And so the expectations to start the season is a lot lower. And then when you accumulate wins and against really good teams, the expectations now change, and now everybody wants to be that team that beat you. So you have to be prepared.
Quick question on midterms. So it's exam week at Westwood at the high school. How does that impact your schedule? Same schedule, and the kids just go home and come back? You know, how do you zig and zag with the schedules?
I think the times are the same,
Right.
but the kids' schedule is definitely different. Just not having to be in school from 7:30 to 2, and they might be up later studying. And I think, and on our side at least, I don't know about your guys, but they've done a good job and just
Right.
sort of, it's felt a little bit like a normal week at basketball, which is good. But we know they're under some more stress and kind of just definitely out of routine, which always makes me nervous. But it's been pretty good this week.
Yeah, and they do a great job. We talk a lot about time management and preparation. And one of the things that's always been great, and this is going back many seasons now, the upper class have always done a great job with the younger kids on how to balance time. And we sit down and do this work with them, and then they do it individually where they can approach an upperclassman, or upperclassman will go to a younger player and say, hey, look, how are you managing? How many tests do you have this week? When are they? And how are you managing all this? So we've never had any issues revolving around that stuff at all. You know, it's and I think when the exams are finished by 11:30, I think, so they have ample amount of time before the next, before practice starts, to either go home, rest, or pick up the next, prepare for the next exam. And again, like I've always said this about even just a regular test. If you're trying to study the night before for one of these things, you probably haven't done the right thing. Let's put that on. So it's about preparing, and the old saying, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So if you're studying for your midterm the night before the midterm, then you really haven't done a good job of preparing. You should have been doing that all time long. So
I will chuck my experience up to do as I say, not as I do, because that might be a little bit shaky there, but yeah, as most of us, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, we're in a little bit of a transition. Player of the week versus player spotlight, and I think there's a little bit of both. So we'll start with your player of the week and spotlight.
Yeah, definitely both for me this week. Elizabeth Gill's here. She's a sophomore forward for us. I think she was on the show last year in one episode. She's been fantastic. She's leading us in scoring. She's actually leading the TVL in scoring right now. She's coming off of 3 consecutive 20-point scoring outputs, which is incredible. She had a career high 25 against Norwood, which was huge. We were Norwood was trying to take the game from us. They eventually did, but Elizabeth was the reason that it took them a long time to do that. And she was great. So she's been really good for us. Just has great touch around the rim, and we're working on just making her a more complete player. I mean, she is one, but you can always improve that. So she's really coachable, really hard worker, and things are going great for her so far this season.
Awesome. Coach, who's going to represent the boys?
So Pat Riley's here from the week when we missed. He was the player of the week, and this week it's James McGowan. We also had Danny DeLore slated to come, and Danny's unfortunately very ill, so James came in instead, and James has had a fantastic week so far, and last week leading us in basically every category. So
yeah, 'tis the season for the Bugs going around Westwood schools. That's for sure. Okay, now pretty much what everybody at home has been waiting for. It's prediction time. Okay, so AFC Championship game. Pats go to Kansas City. We'll start with you, Coach. I want the winner and the score.
He's going to deflect. He hasn't made a prediction in 3 years.
But we're
I have to start.
We're holding them down.
He's not going to make
well, that's why I
one. All right, I'll
started.
give you one. It's on the
Prediction,
road. I'd like to see it be a defensive battle, but I don't think it's going to be. I'll go 34-31 Pats.
Okay.
Pats
Coach.
are going to win.
Pats are going to win. Give me
Yeah.
something. Give me. Is it a high scoring game? Is it a
I
low
think it's
scoring
going to be a
game?
low scoring game.
Oof.
I think that what happens in the playoffs is
take that.
defense turns up, and then the referees swallow the whistle more. And if you add in the weather, people are talking about the weather being really bad. I just think it's going to be one of those situations that the Patriots found their running game. Everybody talked about having a great running game this year, that they used that more to control clock. And I think that they're going to end up winning in a low-scoring game.
Low-scoring game. You want to?
24-21.
Whoa! Wow, the
We
first.
got one.
This is history here on Around the Hoop. I'm going a little bit of a weather update. It's going to now be in the mid-20s during the game, so not the 0 and negative digits. I'm going to go 37-34, so a
Wow.
little close to
Close.
yours.
That's
A
it.
little bit
Close.
more. Pats win. They go on. Go to another Super Bowl.
Super Bowl edition Around the Hoop in
abs-
2 weeks.
And absolutely, and Tom wins his 6th.
Third
Wow.
So, yeah. And the next couple of shows, it will be without the jacket because that will be the
Super Bowl
Super
edition.
Bowl edition. Joining us next in studio are the players of the week. On the boys' side, we have Patrick Riley and James McGowan, And on the girls' side, Elizabeth Gill. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's been a couple of weeks since we've had the show, but you've all played your way onto the set. Patrick, we'll talk about you to start. Battling a little bit of an injury, so you weren't able to play this past week. The previous week, you had a phenomenal run, and you were the player of the week. So talk about your games that you had that week and why you're sitting here.
Well, the first game we had that week was Hopkinton, which was one of the toughest games we've had so far this season, I think. And it was funny because in both games, I didn't score any points in the first half. And I think I got really competitive and into it since they were both close games. And yeah, Hopkinton, we played well as a team, got the dub. Same thing in Bellingham. I think we have higher expectations for ourselves though, and hopefully when we play them second half of the season, we'll beat them by more next time.
That's great. So you were able to turn the second halves around in both games. Did you struggle in the first half or in Hopkinton, or was it just you were playing other phases of the game, just scoring wasn't coming?
Yeah, definitely other phases of the game, and also I think I went in with a different mentality, wanted to score the ball and not wanted to take over a little bit.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's great. And then you talk about your injury. So you're battling a bit of a knee injury. I believe you're coming back to play tonight.
Yes.
Awesome.
So basically, it's like something with inflammation under my kneecap.
Yeah.
And it's been hard. It hurt at first, but then it got to the point where it's just annoying that I couldn't go 100%.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good also because our bench energy hasn't been great the past game. So while I was sitting, I kind of tried to get guys into it more often. We got the dub, so it was good.
That's great. And for translation for people in the public, the dub is a win.
Yes,
Okay,
a win.
just making sure everyone's on the same page here. That's great. And so it's tough. I mean, as a captain, you go down and you got to rally and contribute any way you can.
Yes.
And you often see Steph Curry if he's sitting out. He's out in a particular game. He's the one waving the towel, and so that's great to see.
Yeah.
Let's move over to James. So James, you've had a phenomenal week. You've led pretty much in all offensive categories. Talk about your game.
So last year I was mostly just like a shooter and scorer, but this year I'm trying to do pass more, rebound more, get steals more, and not just focus on standing in the corner and shooting more. And so I'm trying to get my teammates involved and make all the right plays.
And how do you do that other than going in with a mindset that again you're gonna try to do different elements? Does coach draw up plays for you? Do you run a particular offensive set that you're forced to do different things?
I'm handling the ball a lot more this season and bringing it up and being the point guard, so that helps. But it mostly is the mentality that I'm gonna crash the boards harder. I'm gonna look for my teammates more and do all that stuff.
Yeah. And then Elizabeth, we'll move over to you, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the road ahead with all three of you. Elizabeth, as Coach Clifford said, you are leading pretty much not only the team, but the TVL and many of the stats, including scoring. You've had a phenomenal year. I didn't mention, like James, you're a sophomore, so just the second year at the varsity level. Talk a little bit about the season you've had and some of the positive things you've been able to gain and what you continue to try to improve on.
Yeah, so as a team, I feel like we've been really intense and really focused the whole time. And like you said, I've been leading scoring, but I really think that's a full team effort because it takes all 5 players to get the ball in the net, and we all have to run through our play. Everybody has a role. So in order to execute, everybody has to do their job. So I think that's just really important, whereas it's not just the person who scores who really ran the play, it's everybody. And then something I'm really working on is my rebounding because I'm used to running up in transition, but now I have to focus on crashing the boards first, getting the ball, outletting, and then going. So I think that's something that I can improve on.
Awesome. So you're player of the week as well. So talk about the last couple of games. Talk about Norwood in particular. You know, you had your career high 25 points. Did a lot of amazing things. You weren't able to get the W. Or the dub, excuse me, Patrick. So talk about that game and what you can grow even in a loss.
Yeah, so that game was, like Cliff said, it was a really big tournament atmosphere, which I haven't experienced yet, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds really good. And so I think from us, what we can take away from that is we have to have the confidence to be able to bounce back from a loss like that, because that was devastating, obviously. But we have to use it to our advantage, and now that we're knocked down a peg, we have to be able to work harder and use that as motivation to be able to climb back to the top of the TVL. So I think that's something that is beneficial for us in a way.
That's great, and we'll stay with you, Elizabeth. The road ahead. So talk about the next couple of games. You know, what do you do both as an individual player, but then also as a team leader to continue and to turn that loss into a W?
Yeah, so I think our energy is something that's really important. We all have to make sure we're locked in and engaged, and everybody wants it on our team, which is something that's really easy, so we can turn around. When you have everybody who really wants to be there and is dedicated and wants to improve and win for the team, it's really helpful, because then it doesn't take much to have everybody be engaged and want to win, so that just helps a lot.
Awesome. James, same question to you. Road ahead, you've got 4 games in the next 8 days, or 7 days. Talk about what you can do as an individual player. Is it continuing to do all of those little things? Is there a particular part of your game that you want to improve?
It's all the little things, it's all the details, and it's kind of, I'm gonna try and keep the team motivated, because a lot of kids are hurt, everyone's banged up, some kids are sick, and we have a lot of games next week, so we just have to stay motivated and fight through it.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Got 3 games next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, like you said, got to stay motivated, got to stay intense at all of them, which is going to be hard, but I think we'll be able to work hard and get the dubs.
Get the dubs.
Get the
lots
dubs,
of
yeah.
dubs out there to be gotten.
Yeah.
So for the 2 of you, really important, just between the 3 of us, Coach Clifford as a teacher.
Oh,
Let's
gosh.
talk. So the 2 of you have Coach Clifford in the classroom. You know, this is finals week. You know, the term finals. You know, you both did pretty well on an exam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thumbs up for
Yeah.
Cliff as a teacher.
No, she's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that
she's
was incredibly smart answers by both of you.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth, you do not have Coach Clifford as a teacher, but you get to experience Coach Clifford on the court. Okay, now again, what everybody at home is waiting for: prediction time. So we're not going to start with you, James, because you said some troubling things before we went on the air. Elizabeth, who do you have in the AFC Championship game?
I'll go 38-34 Pats.
Wow, very close to mine. I like it. A shootout. Pat?
Yeah, I think definitely a high-scoring game, or at least I hope it is. So I'm going to say 35-28 Pats.
Okay, nice 7-point victory.
I'm
James.
going Pats 42-38.
42-38, another close one. Wow, so with 7 points, the biggest spread. So we'll make sure that those are all up on the screen. We memorialize them, and we'll see which one of you guys are right. So again, congratulations to all 3 of you. You've had phenomenal seasons to date. We're just past the halfway point, so it is in the heart of the season right now. Good luck on the knee. Hopefully you're back in action and for good, and go get them. Lots of dubs.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us for Around the Hoop, the Westwood Basketball Show, Episode 5. Thank you to Coach Clifford and St. Martin for joining us in studio, as well as the 3 players of the week, Elizabeth Gill, who's having a phenomenal season for the girls, and then Patrick Riley and James McGowan on the boys' side, leading the team number 1 and 2 in many of the categories. So again, congrats on the great season that they've had to date. Good luck to the boys and girls as they play 4 games over the next 7 days. It's going to be a real tough stretch physically and mentally, but I know that they have what it takes to get through it with the dubs, as we just learned what that means. Thank you to Westwood Media Center. The studio here is phenomenal, 15 Purwall Street. Come on down and check it out. To Connor Lynch for handling all of the behind-the-scenes editing and video production. Melinda Garfield, Executive Director, and Maggie McGinnis, who is, I think, skiing right now. Wow, we actually gave her a day off. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time for the Super Bowl edition, where the Pats will have come out of KC with a victory. I say 37-34, and you heard all the other scores. Go Pats, and we'll see you next time.